77 ABC. Now, Lionel is on your radio.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. I don't even know where to start. Let me give you a couple of intros. Little prolegomenon, a praise, a proem, a prefatory, conditional explanation. Under no way or wise. That's always been one of my favorite. In no wise versus way. Impress your friend. Oh, won't you show me the wise? Anywho. What I'm about to say should in no way be imputed or in any way connected with the management, the staff, or anybody with WABC. Okay? I am a rogue contrarian. I have no affiliation to anything. I hold back. Oh yeah. I don't want to scare you too much, but believe me when I tell you this. There is no one like me. Nobody. And that may be a very good thing. Because tic dolorou is something you don't want many things mimicking as well. So let me just get that out of the way. And let me also say a shout out to Dr. Sky. Let me tell you something. I love that show. It is so wonderful to hear this thing called conversation. Conversation. Or conversation in a way, or conservate. Somebody said one time, conversate. Which is a good word. So is irregardless. That's a legitimate word too. I like to throw in irregarding the matter. Well, job, thank you, boss. Irregarding the budget. So, Dr. Sky has this wonderful thing called conversation. Just listen to people. Listen to what people say. I love it. Because so few of us are speaking and talking. I loved my radio heroes. Have nothing to do with the people that you might think. I mean, I like what people do in terms of the power of such. But I don't necessarily like what other people do. I think Art Bell was great. I think Rush was terrific. Gene Shepard. I listen to other people. Bob Grant. Everybody had their own style. There was a fellow in Miami named Neil Rogers who was just atypical, a break from the mold. I loved that. This past week, I went to a meeting for the first time ever of a group called SAG-AFTRA. That's the union of broadcasters and the like. And I thought, you know what? I've never been to one of these. I never have. And I've been doing this theoretically, professionally, since 1988. How about that? And anyway. So I went and saw Jim Kerr, was a great guy, Carol Miller, all these people. And it was great talking to them about what it is that we liked about radio and the like. And I was talking to them about people that I just find interesting, such as Dr. Sky. I don't have to explain to you why. I just find it interesting. And for me to say, I could listen to this. That's the greatest compliment. I get so bored so fast. You can't even imagine. As my good friends, Messrs. Lee and Atwood, will attest to. And that's what's also a wonderful thing. Keeping yourself, I'm always looking for something new. I'm never, ever, 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 ever satisfied with what's going on. Okay. So that being said, let me tell you something. I have a list of what I want to talk about today, up to and including the Pope. Let me just throw some things out. Take everything you hear about the Pope on the radio and TV and throw it away. You don't know anything about the Pope. You have no idea about the papacy. I don't want to go into the impeded see, the vacancy, the sede vacante. Americans know nothing. I've heard some of the most stupid comments, right? This is me now, not WABC. Some of the most stupid comments ever. They know nothing about the papacy. Nothing. But all of a sudden they go, hey, he's from Chicago. What does that mean? That is great. Obama was from Chicago. Al Capone, well, Brooklyn, technically. What does this mean? I don't know. Seems like a nice guy. You don't know anything about it. Well, I heard somebody say this on a station. Well, the Catholic Church is going to get away from all that crazy leftist stuff. What are you, nuts? No, they're not. No, I don't even want to tell you what the insiders are saying. And listen, with all due respect, Cardinal Dolan, beautiful guy. Do you think he's going to come on the air and say, okay, let me tell you what's going on here? First of all, you don't even know we have a quorum. We're not even sure if, by the way, of Bergoglio, Francis was the Pope, because there was that whole thing with Ratzinger. You don't want to hear anything about that. America hates this. You hate to hear things about what? Yes. Do you know what the insiders are saying? Stuff you can't believe. You cannot imagine what people are saying. You know nothing about this. Nothing. Listen, again, I don't want to bring my other world into you, because it's like sometimes, look, I love you, but I don't think you're ready for me in certain subjects. Some things, yes. Other things, no. Absolutely not. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth. Can you imagine if you said, Mommy, Daddy? Yes, Tony. Can you tell me where I came from? Okay. You wanted me to tell you? Yeah. Okay. Well, years ago, there was a Christmas party, and your mom and I got pretty loaded, and she had a French maid's outfit on. Next thing you know, we were playing hide the soap, and there you are. What? Well, that's what happened. That's not what I want to hear. Oh, you said the truth. Well, not the whole. I want some truth. Oh, you want sanitized truth. Oh, I see. So that's what I learned a long time ago. Pick the hill you want to die on. Do you want me to tell you everything I know? No, you won't be able to sleep at night. Because if somebody said, okay, go ahead, I'll give you one day, tell them everything you know. Freak them out. You wouldn't be able to sleep. You wouldn't trust anybody. Half of what you're hearing is nonsense. It's repeated lore. It's somebody saying something they heard. You know that joke, that party trick where you say something at a party and then somebody else says it and somebody else says it. You know what I mean? It keeps going on. Okay. Take that and multiply it by a factorial, 1,000 factorial. Don't forget factorial with the exclamation point and the anywho. So I do my YouTube channel, Lionel Nation. I go into that, and I've got a friend of mine in Rome. Oh man, you don't know what they're saying about not only the vacancy, but the whole notion of what Ratzinger did, and the last pope. Do you have any? And let me stop right there. Little proviso. Listen to me carefully. The Catholic Church is divided into the liturgy, the Holy Word of God, the stories, the parable, the apostolic creed, all of that. Jesus, what the church is. That's the religion. The papacy in the Vatican is a different story. Throw into it the Jesuits, the Black Pope. Oh, it gets Byzantine. It gets so internecine, and oh man. See, I came from a Jesuit high school. Ad Maiorem Dei Gloria. Woo, woo. Doing a Robert Klein there. Ignatius Loyola, Society of Jesus, the Pope's Army. Oh yeah, baby. Oh, you see, I love people who walk in and go, I'm going to go talk about the Pope today. Well, you don't know anything. Well, I guess. He wears a nice vestment, and they pick the name, and you don't know anything. Can you imagine me trying to explain Orthodox Judaism? Well, they wear a hat. I don't go there. Why do people in the media think they can talk about the Pope or the papacy or the Catholic Church or the history or what? The first Benedict. Remember what Benedict said? Do you know what the St. Gallen Mafia? Oh, forget it. This is what I look at people. They go, what? I said, why are you talking about this? Just go in there. Hello, good morning. This is Rockstone. KQA for the news today. They met. They Pope. White smoke. Okay, coming up, news, sports, and weather. That's all you know. That's it. And who is this man, Leo? You don't know anything. He's an Augustinian. Uh-huh. Well, he's the first tweeting pope. He's from Chicago. He was in Chicago for like an hour. He was Peru. Do you get what's going on? Do you know again, the labyrinth. No. And do you think anybody in the church is going to say, okay, let me explain to you what's going on here. We got a real problem. You see, we got this kind of a Soros G7 weird leftist socialist group, and the last guy with a junta, and they had, no, they're not going to tell you this. You know nothing. Americans believe anything. He was a humble man. He went down and he paid for his room, his rent. He didn't even, okay, fine. Look, I'm not trying to mock it, but say, do you think that's it? What do you think we do? Who, do you know who these people are? Do you know how smart? And the guy who was so Machiavellian, the guy who, if you really want to get into it, you really, really, really want to get into it, Ratzinger, Benedict. Oh, man. I just had to say that. I just had to say this. Get this out of the way, and that's all I'm going to talk about it. Believe me. Trust me when I tell you. When I say this, you don't have the time or the effort, the wherewithal, the inclination, or the predisposition to really go into what the papacy is about. You don't. You don't know. You cannot possibly know. I talk to people. I've got friends of mine in Rome. I mean, have you followed this? Do you understand what people are saying? Do you think this is just about Jesus in the liturgy? No! 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 Oh my God! This is why I say, okay, that's it. I would never, ever even attempt to discuss the Greek Orthodox Church, Judaism, Judaism is correctly, I guess, pronounced, Islam, Zoroastrianism, Buddhism. Never. The Baha'i faith. By the way, if you ever want to see something beautiful in Haifa, you should see the Baha'i, not the gardens. I forget the exact name of it. Remember where the first time you heard about the Baha'i faith? Seals and Crofts. Baha'u'llah. Remember that? I would never even deign, even for a moment intimate that I knew anything about Baha'i faith, even spelling it. B-A apostrophe A apostrophe. I don't. It's worse than Gaelic. You ever do that? My name is Siobhan. S-I Fada. Fada, your father in your face. And my father, who's father? Hello, Mara. Hello, father. What are you making? Alan Sherman references? What am I talking about? What am I talking about? 2:18 in the morning, and you're wondering, who is this guy? You went from Dr. Sky, so nice, orderly, so linear. Me, you're wondering, who is this guy? I'm Lionel. And somebody suggested one time I sound like Curly Howard on Benzedrine. That's me. I'm one of a kind, baby. Sui generis, nonpareil. My brain is like a short circuit, but controlled. You got what I'm saying? There's a lot to talk about. Oh, God. Now, I don't want to give you the list of what I want to talk about because I'm not going to get to half of it. So there's always tomorrow. So I want to talk to you about this 12-foot statue in Times Square, which I think is so funny because most of the time people miss the significance of what that whole thing was about. But that was one of the funniest things ever. But coming up, I want to talk to you about this thing about handicaps. And I want to tell you that why there is such a predisposition towards and against and anent the adipose, the heavy. Why wait? There is this absolute focused hatred towards anybody who is, I'll say it once, fat, plus size, whatever why? It's like somebody said, okay, look, we got to hate somebody. Can't hate the mentally handicapped. Can't hate this. Can't hate that. Can't hate this. Can't hate race. Can't hate. Who can we go after? Who? Anybody? Drunks? No. Substance abuse. Okay, whatever. And no, nothing medical except weight. That's open season. Go ahead. Tear them apart. Tear them apart. Anything from the time you're a kid. But then I'm going to tell you why this means to me. Why this is so important to me, why this notion. Because when I was a kid, put it this way. I always told people it wasn't my weight that was a problem, it was my height. I should have been 7'3". When I was in high school, what am I saying? When I was like in grade school, I don't know, third grade, I was in Catholic school, and we would buy these clothes every year. We had this one black pants or blue pants, depending upon when you went, and a white shirt, very institutionalized. And I wore Ready for this? I remember this distinctly. 3rd grade, 4th grade, I don't know. 36 husky. It wasn't bad that I'm like 4 feet tall and I'm 36, but they had to put husky in there to really just rub it in. You know what I mean? To rub it in there. Oh yeah, you're not just 36, you know. What is your inseam? Don't even bother. Sometimes they were inverted. Is this an in? No, the inseam is, I'm a 36-12, you know. And I realized, and how that affected me, and how I'm very, very sensitive about that. Because I'm thinking, what do you care about my weight? Why do people care so much about my weight? Why? Because they're mean. People are mean. They're trolls and no social media. So not only that, overweight, fat, let's call it, glasses, braces, and I had to wear these shoes. He's like, they called them orthopedic. The only thing missing was a brace up the side. They looked like they were devoid of any, I sort of got like Frankenstein shoes. I don't know what these things were. They were like earth shoes without the design. Okay. Without the pizzazz. But this is where God said, whatever destroys you, maims you. Okay. This is the pièce de résistance. This is what they gave me. This is what nature gave me to fill it in. Remember this. I was very big at the time, so I could, clobber people then. Now I look like Billy Barty or Willie Shoemaker, but that's a different story. Vertebral compression or something. I have no idea what the gravity aspect of this is, but so fat shoes, glasses, braces, but not braces, not Invisalign. These almost like, that Richard, was it not Richard Kiley, that's the actor, Richard Keel, the one who played, Jaws, that kind of thing. I look like, what is this? All I missed or needed was the halo. But what they gave me to finish it off, a stutter. Ha! I want to tell you about that. I got to tell you about this story because there's hope. There's hope. Or there's a wish. One of the two. Our number is, what is our number? 800-848-WABC, 800-848-9222222. That's the number. And let me tell you this very, 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 very simply this. I am honored to be here on 77 WABC. Honored to be with you until 5 o'clock. This is the first time we're actually doing 2 to 5. And I'm here every Saturday morning and Sunday morning with two of the best guys in the business. Not radio, but small engine repair. I'm kidding. They're the best. Carburetors especially. This is Lionel with you on 77 WABC.
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
For every song like that, we've got one coming up for you later that I was talking to my gentleman co-conspirators about a song we're going to play later, which is at the bottom of the cultural barrel, which we love because we're all demented. All of us are basically from the same age group, and we share this sense of whatever it is. Anyway, Lionel with you. The reason for this ramble is the following. And I want people to take into account, everybody's got something that they have, which is either an impediment, something they're not crazy about, a look, something physical. Just think if we were blind, how would we be racist? We'd have to be maybe auditory. Where are you from? As we can't see, we would find new ways to hate. But I got to tell you about stuttering. This was, to me, fascinating. Stutter, stammer, who knows? You can look it up. 5 to 10% of children experience some kind of stuttering. You kind of grew it. You outgrow it. It's more common in males than females. It's about 2-to-1 to 4-to-1. Stuttering usually takes place, it kicks in around 2 to 6 years old. 75 to 80%, quote, outgrow it. There's speech therapy, cognitive behavioral stuff, electronic devices. I like that. It sounds like we're shocking them. That always works. Support groups. Is it neurological? But here is the thing. And the reason why I'm focusing on this is I've been hearing so much about fat. Oh my God. We're going to get to this 12-foot statue in the Times Square. Maybe, if I don't lose any interest in it, but we'll talk about that. But what do they keep talking about? She's fat. That's it. It's like, wait a minute, that's it? And then you hear stories about somebody on an airplane, somebody who says, hey, I want my seats larger. You know, it's like, wait a minute, excuse me. I can't sit here. I want to, okay, wait a minute, wait. So what they do is, rather than say, you know, this person might not be the best advocate for this particular point of view, they say, no, it's fat people. They just blanket the whole, everybody's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's not what's happening, because we gotta find something to hate. And for some reason, people said, okay, attention. You can't talk about religion, you can't talk about gender, you can't talk about gender, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about face, handicaps. But wait, you're on your own. Have at it. Tear them up. I despise that. I despise that. Let me tell you about stuttering, okay? I don't know what it was. I don't know when it was, but most stutterers have a word, and I'll tell you why I'm doing what I do now, which is a very long story. But you might, and by the by, if you're a stutterer, you get first priority. You don't call radio shows because people mock you, right? People mock you. They always want to finish your sentence. Never finish your sentence. Just sit there and be patient. Just sit there and be patient. Don't finish the word for them. They know they're stuttering. And never make fun of it. Never go, oh my God. That's 5 to 20 in my ideal prison setting. Never just wait. Because it's killing them. Because let me tell you something. I don't care how much you weigh or what you look like, you know, there's something about when you can't speak, they think you're everything from crazy to, and I'm going to say it, retarded. Remember that word? Oh yeah. I had a nun tell me that one time. A nun pulled me and this other guy out. They said, we're retarded. She told me I was retarded. She told me this. I said, I don't think so. I don't think so, sister. Don't think so. She told me this. This was great. And it, to me, it just made me laugh. It's like, you've got to be kidding. I know that's not the case. But then again, maybe if you do suffer from this particular malady, maybe you don't know. Huh? It could be. I didn't think so. So here's the thing. I was at Caroline's one time. I used to do stand-up comedy all the time. The Cutting Room, July 19th. That's what I do. I love it. And one of the reasons why is he told me, you can't speak. Was a trial lawyer, went into radio. Okay? You think I know what I'm talking about? I know what I'm talking about. So a couple of things. So I was at Caroline's one time and this guy came up to me and he was really bad. He was just freaking out. It's always the pressure. It's the pressure. It's the scare. It's like, you're on. And you're just, the anticipation, the fright, you're sweating. So I said, come here for a minute. Let me talk to you. So I pulled him over. I said, I know what you're going through. Take it easy. I'm one of you too. I understand. I said, so what are your trigger words? Because every stutterer has words that are really tough. Mine was, you're going to love this, L. Okay, so what? Well, let me tell you what happened. My real name is Michael LeBron. Talk about a double goat, right? LeBron James, that's me. LeBron, it's a Boricua name, technically. But anyway, Michael ends in L, LeBron starts in L. LL, double header. It's a nightmare. A nightmare. One time, 4th grade, 5th grade, I don't know. I went to this one school. We had the same class from 1st grade, we were every single year. It was the same. We never had new people. It was one group. You had one 4th grade, one 5th grade, that was it. And every year was the same people. So one day, Sister Mike Tyson or Sister H.R. Bob Halderman, Sister Mary Agony, whatever her name was, she said, all right, everybody stand up and tell us your name. And I'm thinking, why are we doing this? I know who this is. There's Nancy and Eddie and Tony and Bill. And so it was number one, stand up, hi, Terry, Tony, okay, they get Bill, okay. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I could see them incrementally getting closer to me. I was halfway in the middle of halfway in the middle. Think about that. Redundant? You do the math. I was sitting there and I thought, oh no, here they come. And I could see it spatially approximate. It's approaching me. Oh my God, I got to stand up my name. I got to stand up. And it's like the pressure. It's like, oh no. And I could feel, and by the way, most stutterers, like people with sometimes epilepsy and migraine headaches, we have an aura. And I can wake up in the morning and I'll feel it. I'll say, today's not going to be good. Be careful. Oh, I sound like a motor. What is this? Hello? What is this? Anyway, I laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny. So as they're moving down, I said, what am I going to do? I got to say my name. They know who I am. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a Jackie Gleason. I'm going to do a Ralph Cramden here. So I stood up and I learned something new. What I did was I changed the pattern of it. Remember the name Bond, James Bond, whoever says that. The name Atwood, Tony Atwood. No, nobody, that's from the 40s. But if you throw it off, or if you use a different language, a different accent, or if you sing it, Mel Tillis never stuttered when he sang because it's rhythmic. And when you talk like this, there is no problem. Why? Not because it's rhythm per se, but because you're speaking in a different style. So I stood up. My name, LeBron, L-E, and they're saying, who is this? What is this, Sam Spade? Who talks like this? But I talked through it, and I didn't stutter because it was a style that's not usual. Had I talked in my normal voice, it would have been horrible. Here's the best one. Oh, this is funny. Sometimes answering the phone. Hello. H. Oh, bad. So, I can laugh about it. Somebody would call me and I'd answer the phone. I'm trying to say hello. I say, and somebody's thinking, is this an obscene phone call? Wait a minute. I called somebody and my odds, I'm calling an obscene phoner? What? Do you get the joke? I hope you do, because I think it's funny. Somebody calls me up and, sorry, Aunt Pina. Sorry. She's, Aunt Pina. What's wrong with Michael? I don't know, but well, that's a long story. So anyway, hello was tough. You know what's not tough? Yellow. They call me Mellow Yellow. Yellow I can say. Hello I can. Whoever corrects you. Excuse me, did you say yellow? Yes, that's a color. Amarillo. That's not it. So I always changed the way I spoke. And what I really did was I learned accents. I learned phrasing. I learned volume. Anything I can to change the way I spoke. Never stuttered again. I still don't. So what did I do? Became a trial lawyer. Did talk radio. Doing it right now. And I'm doing it. I'm doing in that speech right now. I am doing me doing a new voice that never stutters. And if I feel it coming on, I adjust it. I hit the brake, hit the gas, back and forth, and I got around it. But let me tell you something. I was a lucky one. There's so many people you never hear about. You know what it's like when you can't speak? You want to ask a girl out or somebody to, I don't know if anybody asks anybody out anymore. It's horrible. It's horrible. They think you're stupid. They think, and you're not. You're anything but this. And then there's this thing, oh my God, think about this, fellas. What about the songs that use stuttering in the words? My generation, talking about my generation, okay? Benny and the Jets, you ain't seen nothing yet, baby. And that was Randy not Bachman, kind of joking with his brother. Some people say bad has a little bit about that. Changes, changes. Also, Catmandu, Bob Seger. Katie was one song. Barbara Ann. That's not really not Baba. Oh yeah, Susudio, right. Now, there's other versions of it, like Amy Winehouse Rehab. No, that's not really stuttering. But for some reason, they think it's okay. They think it's weird. They think it's funny, and they laugh at you. So anyway, so when I was at Caroline's, as I was saying, I pulled this kid over. He's younger than me, and we're talking. Guess what? I said, "Hey, listen, you notice something?" What? I said, "You're not stuttering." He wasn't, because I took all. And also, do you know that if you take headphones and you put it on a stutterer and you play music that's louder where they can't hear themselves? Not always, but sometimes they will not stutter because it's a feedback thing. You're hearing. Plus, there's the panic. If ever your doctor said, "Listen, I've given you this medication. Do me a favor. If ever you get an itch in the middle of your back, you call me. I don't care what time of the day it is." That never happens. But if I alert you to something ahead of time, you will be spending the rest of your life wondering, is that an itch? I don't know what that was. I don't know. So if you're saying, what am I going to say now? What's this word? I've got to say receipt. I'm at TJ Maxx. I got to return this. Is there an R in this word? Maybe see it. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I also wondered, Richard Pryor had that great line. He says, whether people in Chinese stutter. You know, I guess. So in any event, do you stutter? Do you? Call me. I want to hear you. Tell me your horror story. And better yet, tell me your handicap. What do you have to go through? Is it weight? Is it this? Is it glasses? How about people with a port wine stain? Remember how cool the whole, Gorbachev made that stain, that birthmark, as they call it? Everybody's got something. And that's why my message, if I were the Pope, would be nice to each other. Don't talk about people's weight. Talk about their ideas, their thoughts, open season, baby, but not their looks. I mean, I mean, look, if you're famous, look, sometimes we love to trash famous people because we're kind of jealous, maybe. I don't know. So it's kind of an inconsistent thing. That's what I want to talk about. 800-848-9222. If you stutter, top of the line, Billy. Come on, do it now. And let's share what should people never do. I'm telling you, finish your sentence. Never do that. Just let them go. Just sit back and tell people, don't worry about it. I'm your friend. We're all in this together, brother. Don't forget, Hawaii 5-0. Cam Fong as Chin Ho. We're all in this together, brother. Don't forget that. This is Lionel with you on 77 WABC.
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
We're talking today about this notion of disability. What is normal? What does that mean? What does that mean? When I see a little kid walking around with thick glasses, like a little kid, like a little toddler with glasses, if I see somebody with a cochlear implant, somebody who, in the old days when we were kids, you had braces and, remember the cast? Remember the old days? You ever you get that plaster cast and your skin would rot? Today they got these, it was a different world then. Better equipment, better diagnosis. Everybody's handicapped. You've got something, believe me. I'll tell you one that I am absolutely, It never comes up. This is interesting. What if you couldn't pronounce a word that is not pronounced in your language? Huh? You don't even know you have that. You don't have a handicap unless somebody points it out. If everybody was of a particular height or weight, you would say it's not a handicap because it's really kind of like a vote. If you do something that is beyond, the particular spectrum of normalcy, but everybody's got something special. And now everybody's saying, well, he's on the spectrum. He's on the spectrum. Everybody's on the spectrum. The world is a spectrum. The world is a ghetto too. I think War said it best. So anyway, I want to hear from you. I want to talk about disabilities just for this, not in the way that people normally do, but especially stutters. That's near and dear to my heart. Near and dear to my heart. There's something. And there are folks who, let me tell you, and the one that fascinates me the most, Tourette's. Tourette's is fascinating because of the three biggest symptoms, number one, it's tics. You ever see people who blink their eyes? I've got a friend of mine who, my grandmother, my grandmother Angelina, her English was unique. Somebody was doing that, where you're constantly blinking. She said, stop lightning. In her mind, I said, yeah, I kind of get that. But anyway, but it's tics, OCD, and number three is what people always associate with Tourette's is coprolalia. This is where you sometimes emit or say things that are either inappropriate, scatological, concupiscent, vile. And one time, when I was on WABC years ago, I thought, when it came to people, I forget there was a story about somebody who had Tourette's and was coprolalic. And I said, I've got an idea which might help. Why don't you just move to a different country where nobody understands you? And I got a very serious letter from somebody who said, that's not funny. And I apologized because her son or child was going through this. And here I am mocking her because I don't know anything about it. Like people who talk about the papacy in the Vatican. But I digress. Joe in New Jersey, you're on 77 WABC on the Lionel Show.
Good evening, Lionel.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Lionel. Can you hear me?
Do I fear you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You are so right. You are so right about this handicap. That's the new N-word is normal in the community of disabilities. I'm going
really?
Yes. Special Olympics this weekend is being held in New Jersey here the next few weeks. And my son was born with Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. He's an angel to us. At first, I was a crying father those first few moments, the doctor told us. But now he's 35. Every 10th word, maybe you could understand. His favorite word is Oni. He's a video game guy, and he's just, to me, he's normal. But, of course, everybody, like you said, we're the lucky ones.
Well, it's funny. It is such an interesting thing. It goes to show you Down or Trisomy 21, and Trisomy 21 Mosaic, and it's interesting. But and aside from, you got to understand, they will. Here, let me go back. I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
There was a woman one time who was saying, and by the way, that's the secret of my genius. I've got 50 different songs going on at the same time. Now, that may be a problem? To me, it's great. Anyway, it's all I know, Joe. It's all I know. There was a woman one time, there was a doctor who was standing up and says, you're from now on with genetic testing, one day we'll be able to eliminate. There won't be any Down syndrome. The woman says, hey!
Terrible.
Wait a minute. But he said, no, I'm not trying to, no, we're not talking about euthanasia or anything or eugenics. We're talking about preventing this.
You can't.
The thing is that there's got to be a better way to say this.
Yeah.
And here is the point. Especially, Joe, those people who talk about, they're so Christian. If Jesus were here, he'd say, what are you doing?
Yes.
Especially when people, there's no skin off their nose. This is your son.
Exactly.
This is your son. You love your son. And there are things that your son can do that nobody ever exhibits.
You are so right.
There is a love and a sweetness and a happiness. And it's like, wait a minute. Now, I'm not saying there aren't attendant problems. We're not going to go into health or whatever it is. But here's the thing. There are so many kids. Have you ever heard of, I think it's called Williams syndrome, where these kids show this. It's this, Williams syndrome is where they have this attendant. They're very nice and sweet, and they're very vulnerable, and they're very prone to being taken advantage of.
And naive,
But think about this. Only in America can something where you are nice be considered. It's not just America. But isn't that just odd? Williams syndrome, by the way, doing my quick, is a rare genetic disorder that affects 1 in 10,000. Wow. It's caused by a deletion of about 26 genes on chromosome 7. But what happens is they're hypersocial. This is interesting. Mild to moderate intellectual disability. But listen to this. Wow. Highly verbal, hypersocial. They're unusually friendly. They love to talk. Strong in language and music. Weak in spatial reasoning. I'm thinking, now wait a minute.
Wow.
This is a what? Let me give you another one. You're gonna love. This is my favorite. I shouldn't laugh.
Why not?
I'm not laughing, but there's something called Witzelsucht. Leave it to the Germans.
Oh my God.
Listen to this one. No, listen to this. You ready?
Good.
Witzelsucht is a rare neurological condition that causes a person to compulsively make, now ready?
Yes.
Jokes, puns, inappropriate humor, often, wait a minute, see, we're laughing. Often, this is me, with no awareness that their humor is misplaced, bizarre, or offensive. The constant, uncontrollable joke making, lack of insight. They don't realize their jokes are inappropriate or unfunny. Flat affect with humor. Ironically, while compulsively joking, they show no emotional warmth or now.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, listen to me. But I said, leave it to the Germans to come up with a disease where you're joking to them.
Excuse me, my wife is German. Watch out. Can you spell that word?
Yes.
I got to look it up.
W-I-T-Z.
W-I-T-Z.
Right, W-I-T-Z-E-L. Sucked. It means joke, addiction. Witz, a joke. So anyway,
loves you.
But what happens is when God says, and I use this term just theoretically, when God says, watch what I do, one little chromosome of this and that, anything missing or nobody ever is benefited from it. There's this balance. And here's the best part. If God were going to laugh at you, he says, and guess what? People think they're normal because they don't have anything because they're unremarkable. Unremarkable is a great way. Radiologists, pathologists do it. Well, we looked at your castet and it's unremarkable. Well, Joe, I've looked at you playing the guitar and it's unremarkable. And your talent is unremarkable. We look at it. That's a good thing. So I'm sorry.
If God told a joke, he would make you die laughing, of course.
Well, but I think, and I'm always one who says God probably has a sense of humor.
Yes.
Did you ever see the movie Oh God, when George Burns, when John Denver says, did you ever make a mistake? He says, yeah, the whole avocado pit. I don't know what I was thinking about that. Anyway, I just listen, Joe, to you and your son, we send our love. You're a great man because you have learned so much through him by virtue of what he has taught you.
So right.
You are
One
blessed.
last thing.
Yes, sir.
A good movie is Children of a Lesser God.
Yes.
Watch that and you'll learn a lot.
Indeed. All the best, my friend. Our number is 800-848-9222. Remember, everybody's got something. And we rarely talk about incredible talents because after all, I don't even know if what that even means. We never think about that as a handicap. But sometimes being too smart isn't a good thing. And I'll just leave it at that. Lionel with you on 77 WABC.
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
I just love that. That song killed me. Music to me has nothing to do with the lyrics. Nothing. Half of the songs I love, I don't even know what they're about. I don't really listen. Can you tell me what a James Brown, what is he saying? I don't know. Does it matter? No. When you listen to opera, when you hear Nessun Dorma, Puccini, do you when Pavarotti nails it and people cry, you don't even know what he's saying. It doesn't even matter. When Time to Say Goodbye, when Andrea Bocelli, people were just dying. Why? It was the sound. It had nothing to do with the words. The words mean nothing. I'm sorry. When you hear yesterday, all my troubles, okay, maybe because, does that really matter? No. Because I can take yesterday, have Ethel Merman sing it, yesterday, all my trouble. No, hold it. It's not the words. It's the feeling. Did you ever think to yourself, when God said to you, I'm going to give you something you'll never be able to thank me enough for? Music. You're going to find out. I can take people. Think about this. What if I had 4 different desert islands and I could create people out of nowhere? Somehow they would be hatched or born or whatever it is. And out of nowhere they become whatever it is. They grow. I feed them somehow. But I find out what is it that they normally would do. And the first thing they would do is they would have competition. They would have what would be called sports. Somewhere along the line, somebody would say, I'll bet you I can throw this thing farther than you can. No, you can't. I'll bet you I can. It'll just happen. And a game will be started. It's what people do. Dance, of which I have no talent or interest whatsoever. My wife's a great dancer. I can't do it. Cicero said, Marcus Tullius Cicero said, no sane man will dance. And speaking of neurological problems, sometimes ballism and all kinds of weird, it looks like you're dancing. Not good. But dancing people would do. People would get into sports competition and music. Somebody, somewhere, everywhere will come up with music on their own independently. It's what we do. And we will love songs. And whenever there is something, an event in our life that is paired with a song, it becomes the soundtrack of our life, and we are forever, ever changed. Now, coming up, I've got about 5 subjects I may get to. I don't want to tell you what they are, because if I do, and I change my mind in mid-sentence, then you're going to say, hey, I'm listening. So just trust me. It'll be good. Lionel with you on the greatest radio station in the world, 77 WABC, until 5 a.m. Get ready. There's a whole lot more coming. Swear to God.
ABC. Now, Lionel is on your radio.
All righty, Lionel with you. Now, I'm going to continue this. We're going to be talking about this, but I got to throw some other things in as well, because we're layering the shows. This is what I call it layering. What does that mean? I have no idea what layering means. I just made it up. But there is a fellow named James O'Keefe. You know who he is? James O'Keefe is one of these Mike Wallace wannabes, and he's a rat. He's a rat. And what he does, and this is important, what he does more than anything else, what he does is he loves to go in and set people up with a camera. Now, I got a problem with this. I understand you got to be journalism, but this guy is a different, there's something wrong with going at lower levels. There was this one feller. Did you see this? I think he was an African-American young man, and I don't know if they set him up I don't know what it is. And then they walk in and they say, oh, so you work for Google, huh? And you don't care about whether kids are trafficked, or as an example. And he said, wait a minute, what's going on? And they lose their mind because it's a sense of betrayal. Well, there's a line that's being drawn in this. And by the way, if you're not into YouTube or Twitter or X, you may not know this name, but trust me, because they were going crazy about it Friday. And there was a line in the sand, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in the MAGA movement. I am MAGA. I love this president. I love him. He's not perfect. He does things that kind of piss me off every now and then. A few. But I'll take him any day over the clown and the clownette before us. Absolutely. And I'm not America first. I'm America only. Not even first. What is this, triage? No, it's America. Nobody cares about us, but I digress. And there's a difference between truth tellers and these treacherous rat bastard self-promoters. So this James O'Keefe bulldozed over the whole concept of it with this kind of an underhanded, kind of a awful, treacherous, perfidious backstab that would even make CNN blush. He covertly recorded Attorney General Pam Bondi from Tampa, Tampania, went to the same law school together. We were with the state attorney's office. I believe she worked with Harry Coe. I did as well, the judge. She was our AG. What are you doing? One of the few warriors, excuse me, that we have left fighting for kids and justice in America first values, I say only. This wasn't investigative journalism. It was sabotage. This was a rat move. This is incredible. Let's be clear. Pam Bondi is not the enemy. She's the only inside the beltway kind of person, one of the few I can trust. And Kash Patel, look, give him a chance. What is it, 106, 109 days, whatever the amount of time is? She's the one inside the belly of the beast. She's going to war every single day against the institutions that are trying to bury the Epstein files, drain the swamp. She's trying to protect us from real predators. Let me explain to you something. So what does this guy O'Keefe does? He hires or sends a nanny, literally a nanny in disguise to secretly record her at brunch. It's not a press conference. It's not a hearing. It's brunch. It's a private conversation with hidden cameras in the mic, like a punk. This isn't Watergate. This is like TM, not even, I don't know who else would do this. And what did he expose? Nothing. Nothing that Pam Bondi wasn't already prepared to say publicly. She's been sounding the alarm, sounding the klaxon about tens of thousands of Epstein-related videos involving minors. And this is being reviewed by the FBI. So what this O'Keefe did, it wasn't a scoop, it was an ambush. And worse, it was ammunition handed to the left. Listen to me, we don't help the left. This is the enemy. Let me tell you something about these people. They're loyal. You never hear Joy Behar, anybody talk. They are so loyal, they never say anything about Biden. They brought him on the View the other day. Biden was mumbling. And that's another thing, too. I want to be very careful. I don't want to make fun of people with neurological problems and deficits. But I will tell you this. I don't want them being president either. I don't mock somebody who's slowing down, but not when you want to be the president and not when you're trying to stretch out your own legacy because you've got to support everybody in your miserable rat bastard family. Pardon my French, but it's true. You see, we are the worst. I'm going to throw myself into this because I'm not a Republican, and I'm not a Democrat, and I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm not any of that stuff. I don't even know what those words mean. What's the matter with us? Let me tell you something, O'Keefe. Shut up. If you got a problem with Pam Bondi, pick up the phone and call her. Don't air our dirty laundry. Don't give these quizzling radical left nihilistic turncoats any ammunition whatsoever. Sometimes, what's his name? Sometimes, Steve Bannon will say stuff. I'm wondering, what are you doing? What's going on here? Whose side are you on? I know nobody wants to talk about this, but I believe in loyalty. 100% loyalty. Do you hear what I'm saying? Loyalty. So I had to get that out of the way. The left is the worst. And you've got a bunch of people who are still trying just to get to the top. And all they're trying to do is say, am I still relevant? Am I still relevant? I don't understand what is happening here. The left, the radical left, the nihilistic left, these punks, they are an enemy to society, to our future, to our country, to our way of life. I know this may sound extreme to you, but I mean every single word of it. All right, my friends, let's go to the phones and the fun and the atmosphere of frivolity this devil may care on this Mother's Day Eve, as it were. Let's go to a man named Ken or Tommy or Elaine. Calling from Long Island, you're on 77 WABC. Kenny. Kenny once. Kenny twice. He's out of there. Frank in Fishkill, you're on 77 WABC with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel.
Hello, Frank.
I'm listening. Yeah, I'm listening to you.
That's the idea. That's the idea, Frank. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you, sir. That's it. Okay.
Can I go on?
No, of course you can. I'm saying thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm trying to pay attention to what we're doing here.
Well, you're the one.
You're all over the place, so don't mind me.
Good for you.
I'm a straight shooting person here, so I have to adjust to your style.
You are linear. I'm geometric. Go ahead.
There you go. Anyhow, so here's the deal. Here's why I called, because one of the things, all of these hurting people hurt people. You probably heard that statement. Well,
yep.
Why are people hurting people? Because they've been hurt. So part of the deal is
sometimes. But go ahead.
How do you? Okay. So what I wanted to talk about was forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So why is forgiveness important? Well, if you go back into the Lord's Prayer, right? You know the Lord's Prayer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talking about
Pater Noster, quies in Kailis, sanctificator nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuat. Yes, I know a verse.
Yeah, well, there's a part that says, forgive us our trespasses. Well, there's another version that says, forgive us our debtors as we forgive our debtors. All right, so that is really significant because debtors implies that somebody is owed something. So when we're a kid and we're growing up, we are owed a safe environment. And so if that, and all along, as we are moving along in our progression, we really need to have some level of safety. And if that's not there, then we basically are feeling neglect or some kind of we're being hurt. So what the deal is, to be able to forgive those that trespass and that hurt us, and the forgiveness deals with having to forgive the debt, because there's a debt that comes from.
I got to tell you something, Frank. I don't believe in forgiveness at all. I don't forgive anybody, ever. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Forgive and forget, it's a myth. This notion of real forgiveness acknowledges what you've done. It's pain or whatever it is, and wrongdoing. Then you consciously choose to let go of the emotional stranglehold. But you don't forget anything. Forgetting can be dangerous. Remembering helps you set boundaries and you learn. And forgiveness doesn't mean condoning or excusing. Doesn't mean it's okay. No. It's not weakness or surrender. No. It's a power move. It's not, there's got to be a better word than surrender. And it doesn't require reconciliation. You can forgive somebody and never speak to them again. Ever. Rebuilding trust is optional. Forgiveness, whatever you want to call it, is unilateral, I guess it is. It doesn't guarantee justice either. Forgiving doesn't cancel, consequences. It's not, I think that's one of the most overrated, misleading concepts ever. I don't forgive anybody. Now, I don't walk around with it either, scarred by this. Why am I supposed to? Now listen, if somebody makes a mistake, that's not even subject to forgiveness. That was a mistake. That was an error. Okay, I understand. But intentional things, no. If somebody hurts your child, you're going to forgive them? No. I know people who just get out, they get their jollies off by hurting. And sometimes the level of hurt isn't catastrophic. It doesn't remove or destroy a person for the rest of their life. But I will tell you something. This idea of, forgive, no. Just remove yourself, uncouple yourself from this scar. Get rid of the cicatrice, as they say, from the scar, the cicatrix. Get away from it. Don't let it keloid. Move on. Get away from people. Just put this back there. Learn from it. But forgive? Oh, that's okay. It's like erasing something. No, I never understood that. That's why I can't, when it comes to me following a lot of religious theology, nope, not me. That's why I'm not very good at it. You know why? 'Cause I'm human. And that gets in the way sometimes of being, in my mind, spiritually superior. I am not. I am crude. I am base. I am just almost, dare I say, kind of a classical conditioning animal. And if you understand that, good, you're the one. Our number 800-848-9222. Did you see this statue in Times Square? I gotta talk about this. What the hell is this all about? What in the name of God is this about? This is Lionel with you on 77 WABC.
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
As you know, dear friends, there was the latest installment of the ongoing saga of New York City's tussle, if you will, with public art that I guess is more interested in making some kind of a statement than celebrating what is referred to as shared values. There is a 12-foot tall bronze statue. Did you see this? It's called Grounded in the Stars, and it was crafted by British artist Thomas J. Price. It now stands prominently in Times Square, and it depicts this is what they call it, a plus-sized black woman in casual attire, hands on hips, exuding an air of defiance. Okay? All right. Let's be careful now, because we have to say, oh, this is great. According to Mr. Price, the statue aims to, this is his quote, challenge traditional ideas around what defines a triumphant figure and who should be rendered immortal through monumentalization. In other words, it's less about, I guess, honoring some specific individual, and more about pushing a narrative that redefines the parameters, the boundaries of societal standards that until recently celebrated figures. Look, I don't know about art. I don't know about comedy. I can't tell you what is and isn't. isn't. This, if anything, looks like a person that I have seen on constant YouTube channel. This particular depiction of a woman who loses her mind at a Chipotle and causes a riot because she didn't get enough, barbecue sauce with her, whatever it was. This is terrible. This is terrible. The statue, the placement, by the way, is no accident. It's situated right near Father Francis Duffy, a decorated World War I chaplain, and George M. Cohan, the Broadway legend, and the Times Square Arts Organization explicitly, and listen to this, right? This is what they said. The statue, quote, cuts a stark contrast to these existing monuments, both of which honor white men. Is that what you got out of it? It seems less about inclusivity, more about replacing one narrative with another. I don't understand. It is a joke. Now, let me tell you what I believe, okay? I am the conspiracist, okay? As you know, conspiracy does not mean crazy. Conspiracy means an organization, an agreement between two or more people in order to accommodate or accomplish something, some nefarious, what have you. I wish somebody would say, hello, yeah, let me talk to, get Thomas Price on the phone. Tommy! Yeah, listen, do me a favor. What is it? You're British, right? Last time I checked. Good. You see, Tommy, I'm a racist. What? Yeah. You are? Oh, yeah. What I want you to do is I want you to construct the ugliest depiction of a black woman who basically looks like slovenly, and I want you to put this in Times Square. Now don't honor great African American women or men of acclaim. No. I want you to do ordinariness. I want you to put this, and then I want you to come up with something. Why? Because I want to actually see if black folks are stupid enough to agree that this was not anything other than some subverted, clandestine, occult, meaning hidden, way of portraying an awful black narrative. This is an insult. This is an insult. If I said, I'm going to have a picture of Speedy Gonzalez or some Mexican guy with a big sombrero and a serape and a mule, and what are we? This is almost caricaturish. But nobody is able to say, excuse me, this is not it. This does not depict, this is a joke. This is a joke, and people they will believe any narrative. I don't have any reason to believe that Mr. Price, what he's doing is deliberately racist. But if he did, it would make complete and total sense. This is what you come up with. This is it. Because you want to hear narratives. And then they go into Times Square, and you always have to have the vox pop, man on the street, MOS. You go out there and you hear these folks. What do you think about it? Well, I think this shows the dignity. Are you kidding? Look at this. Are you kidding me? This is it? Ask Tish James, who, by the way, has got her own problems right now with the FBI. Said, Tish, look at this. How do you feel about this as a proud black woman? Is this it? Does this show defiance? Does this challenge traditional ideas that once, we have lost our minds, because when it comes to race and when it comes to diversity and inclusivity and equality and all of that jazz, which is wonderful, diversity and heterogeneity are wonderful, if not forced, we've lost our minds. We got the mayor of Newark, who says, yeah, I'm going to be involved in basically actively aiding and abetting the criminal subversion of the law as to illegals. We've lost our minds. So I hope somebody is saying to black Americans who might be considering next time, whom should I vote for? Do I want to vote for a particular regime that thinks this is the legacy of, dare I say, negritude, which is a wonderful word, nothing wrong with that? Is this it? Or have we just lost our minds? Nobody's even, I would be so offended by this. Do you remember a while back? A while back, there was something which was one of the most fascinating stories ever. There was something called the Speedy Gonzalez protest in New York City. Did you ever hear this one? I'll never forget this. It was Comedy Central, I believe. Comedy Central decided that they were going to take off, let me see, Comedy Central. Let me pull this one up here. I've got my notes. Called show prep. I hate that word. I show prep, when people say that, it just makes me sick. It makes me sick. But it was a debate. It was a problem. It was a protest when Comedy Central decided all on its own to take Speedy Gonzalez off of the rotation because some idiot thought this was somehow demeaning to Mexicans. Did you hear that one? And it was one of those ones where I thought to myself, this is the funniest story anybody has ever seen. There is I believe it was in the early 2000s, there was a debate, a protest, a cultural, dare I say, overcorrection. Comedy Central, if I recall, and other networks temporarily yanked Speedy Gonzalez. Andale. You know, that noise of whenever there was somebody leaving the scene rapidly with great celerity. Anyway, in the early 2000s, it was done under the banner of sensitivity. Now listen to this one. Some executive, probably clutching some diversity memo, decided that the beloved sombrero-wearing, fast-talking little mouse, this little rodent, this little rat, was somehow offensive or a racial caricature. It was somebody like this thinking for other groups of people. Here's the kicker. Many Mexican Americans didn't want Speedy gone. They loved him. But wasn't Speedy the butt of a joke? No, he was the hero. He was smart, brave, fast, always outwitted Loretta Swit, if you recall correctly from MASH. In any event, always outwitted the slow kind of gringos. Remember Slowpoke Rodriguez, his like brother or cousin? He was fast. He was great. George Lopez liked him. Gabriel. I mean, they loved Speedy Gonzalez. Loved him. So some idiot decided, I think this is demeaning. No! You missed the point. Likewise, somebody looks at this statue depicting I don't know what. It would be like if you had a celebrating women and you had some old woman in a muumuu and slippers like your Aunt Phoebe with a cigarette in her mouth. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. The people making the decisions sit back. Just like, for example, the woman who decided that they were going to take Bud Light and destroy it with a Dylan Mulvaney or whatever this trans or non-binary. You see what's happening here? We're losing our minds. So that's why when the elections come, especially when the midterms come, I want somebody to say, hello, America. My name is such and such. And if you've never voted Republican, I think you should vote for it now. Or vote for Republicans now. Why? Because these people are crazy. Out of all the things in the world, the next time you drive to the city of New York and your car have you ever hit a pothole here? Have you ever done that? Have you ever done that? And you wonder, oh my God, nobody cares about that. No, but they're worrying about Ukraine, or they're worried about DEI, or they're worried about some issue that has nothing to do with the real bread and butter, the actual connectivity issues that affect your life. This is why you've got to vote Republican. And I'm not a Republican. I'm voting Republican because the other group, I don't know where they're from. I don't know what they're thinking. I have no idea. They're worried about things nobody's concerned with. And when they do act, when they do stand up, I will never forget putting up statues to George Floyd. Are you kidding me? How about if we put a picture up to John Gotti? You want that one? A lot of people might like that. I think there are other depictions perhaps that honor Italian Americans better than that. Just saying. What's the matter with us? somewhere along the line, speaking of mental illness, which is another handicap, which affects far more people than you can imagine, somewhere our sense of judgment, our sense of what's right and wrong, or what's going to work makes sense. It's like when somebody decides when to stray too far. You know what I'm saying? You will. It's like when you do Italian food, you can go a little stretch. For example, throw some guanciale in that, maybe. Bacon, no. You see what I'm saying? You will destroy. It's like, dare I say, pineapple on pizza. Wolfgang Puck, I think, California Kitchen. Somebody said pineapple on pizza. That is sacrilege. This is what happens when other people put their minds to something. They say, I'm going to take something which is completely fine, and I'm going to apply my own degree of intellectual and cognitive and social dementia, and I'm going to add it to it, and I'm going to destroy anything that even remotely mimics rational thinking. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to be concerned over things that don't matter. I'm going to worry about mascots. I'm going to worry about Redskins versus this. There is this group of people who are, I think, not literally, but they're the versions of the people who were rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. The world is falling apart. Everything. We are in the midst of a veritable powder keg, and yet this is what the radical left is about. This is what they're about. This is their mentality. And most people, black, white, brown, trans, whatever it is, 90% of the people of the world say, this is ridiculous. You've got to speak up. This is your choice, America. If you think, if you sit back and you just say, well, whatever, you've got to stand up, because it's every one of these little incremental breaches of rational thought and common sense. Every time it fractures, we lose something as a whole. You understand what I'm saying? Good. 800-848-9222. We're going to go to Sandra, Joaquin, and George. Christos, the Honeyman, Matt, everybody's standing by. And who am I? That's a good question. Lionel on 77 WABC.
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
I think, Russ Kunkel, the great drummer, was her husband. I mean, she was just unbelievable. Part of that great, L.A., Linda Ronstadt, Emmylou Harris, kind of thing. Just unreal good. My friends, let's just go back to the phones. We've talked about, somebody says, you're all over the place. This is what drives me crazy. And admittedly, it's not a very long ride. Life to me is a series of scenes. A newspaper is sections. A book is chapters. You don't say, this Godfather movie is all over the place. I mean, 1 minute they're there, they got the wedding, and then you got Sonny shot. I mean, you're all over the place. And you got the Salazzos, the Tattaglias. What is going on? It's called a story. Yeah, I know, but I'm kind of simple. I like you're into Far Side, the greatest comic ever. I'm more into Nancy. I like a 3-panel simple cartoon. Nothing too difficult. What you're all over the place. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a man who, as you know, has done more to stand up for the righteousness and the greatness of what the Greek American has brought to this country. Unfortunately, George Savalas could not be with us. Instead, we have Christos, the honey man. You're on 77 WABC.
Well, I know. You meant Telly Savalas.
No, George was Stavros, his brother.
Oh, okay, George. That's fine.
How much?
Dear noble friend.
See, there you go. I got something. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, sir. I want to go back to your first topic, talk about normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
Tricky concept. And, the stuttering and that kind of thing, and more of a cultural expectation. But are you there?
I'm here.
Yes, sir. And in third grade, I had a problem with the S. I had the S. Sally sold seashells by the seashore, and I overcame that. And, yes, everyone got some sort of quirks and challenges, but, they kind of label them. We're being labeled when.
Well, it's funny. Well, when people, for example, accents, an accent. I like people who say the word axe versus ask. I call that an accent. Get it? A little pun there. An accent. One time I was watching Merv Griffin, of all things, and it was, I think, Don Rickles, Franco Columbu, not Columbo, Columbu, the Sardinian, was on with Don Rickles, and I think, if my memory serves me, it was Fernando Lamas. Don't ask me why they threw. So Don Rickles was making fun of people's accents. And Fernando Lamas said, you don't understand. When somebody's an accent, that means he can speak a language you can't. Look at how we make fun of people. Look how certain accents. And by the way, there's also, Christos, the opposite. Sometimes we think that a British accent elevates somebody's intelligence. Not Geordie or Cockney per se, but take Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan is a cretin. He's a Boeotian. He's a dimwit, a dullard.
He absolutely is.
But because he speaks, so it's funny how certain things we like, if Albert Einstein had buck teeth and talked like this, he says, now you got E equals M, nobody would have listened to him. But if he's German, if he looks like what we believe intelligence looks like, it's a different story. Everything else okay, my friend? How was your health? How was your spirit? How was your soul? How are you, my friend? Good? Good?
I'm hanging in there, like we say, hanging in there.
Hanging in there. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. Matt in the Bronx. You're on 77 WABC with Lionel.
I actually have a disability that kept me out of the military, actually. It's extreme nearsightedness or myopia.
Right.
That you can see things up close, but you can't see them far away.
That's me.
Definitely gonna have a problem on a firing range or any kind of obstacle course with that kind of condition.
Well, uncorrected.
Uncorrected. Yeah, but at the time that I wanted to join, when I was eligible, they didn't take you if you had any kind of surgical procedure to correct your vision. I believe they changed that now, but at the time when I wanted to join, that was what was in the policy in place. You know, it's funny you say that about the myopia or the nearsightedness. We have a relative who the other day suffered from retinal detachment. I thought, oh my God. And I imagined somehow there was some kind of trauma, something that causes the retina to detach. And one of the links, one of the indications of such is nearsightedness. For some reason or another. Oh, I've always had that. All my friends have reading glasses. I take my glasses off to read. I can't see far away. And this is fascinating, isn't it? About my particular eye maladies. True story. One time I went to I can cross one eye really, really well. I mean, cross it. And I can look like I've got, and not that I'm mocking this, but I look like I've got a very serious eye, or I could be, dare I say, blind. And a friend of mine, and sometimes I would do that as kind of a joke, not mocking blind people, but perhaps explaining why. I'll give you an example. So a friend of mine said, don't do that, a blind guy might see you. And I said, so I had to go to I had to get this, the license. What am I trying to say? What kind of language is this? The license. All right. My driver's license came up, and I had to go to get a eye test. So I walked into this place. Some little joint on 8th Avenue. It's not there anymore. And I walked in, and I said, "Can you do the eye?" Yeah. So I walked back there, and the place was packed. There were kids with their families getting their eye checks for schools. So I went, and I immediately did the eye inverted. And the woman before me, the tech says, "You notice anything wrong?" I said, "No, not really. Why? You got a problem?" I said, "I get a headache every now and then." And one eye is looking in. It's serious. So the optometrist, who goes by the name doctor. It's kind of like Jill Biden. I said, "I don't think you're an MD or whatever," but I'm not going to argue. He immediately knew I was kidding, because he said, "That's not funny." So as I walked out, so help me God, I should go blind. I'm sorry if I'm lying, which is an expression my dear friend uses. As I walked out, the area, the room, the showroom with all the glasses were there. All these kids were packed with their parents. And I turned to him and but I said very loudly, I said, "An enema? You never said anything about an enema. I just came here to get my eyes checked. An enema?" And I just walked out. And he looks at me, and I can see him saying, no, because these kids are thinking, "What the hell's the matter with this guy?" No, he's kidding. At the moment, I know I can't convey to you the hilarity of that, but trust me, it was hilarious, as the kids say. Joan in Manhattan, you're on 77 WABC with Lionel. So much for Joan. She's not there. Sandra in New Jersey. Sandra, you take Joan's place.
Good morning. I want you to know, Lionel, that when I used to listen to you on the other channel in the morning as a guest, I always remembered that I learned something from you because you're very smart and you have a lot to say.
Oh yes.
And I always, and I always appreciated that. And I have, when I was growing up, my father, may he rest in peace, every Sunday at the breakfast table, he would tell jokes, and I was the only one who wouldn't laugh. And then I learned that I don't have a sense of humor. But with you, that's a problem. Most people can't make me laugh, but with you, you do make me laugh. But more than that, I love you most when I learn from you, and you have a lot to say about life and experiences.
Oh, like you cannot believe. I thank you for that. I want to say something, and I do not want to in any way be misconstrued, as Archie Bunker would say one time. I don't want to be misunderstood, but let me just say something. Women, I have found out, as you know, are different than men. Did you know that? Oh, yes. And there are certain things that women do that men don't. And women have different senses of humor. Women do not tell jokes. I love jokes. I love stories. I love jokes. Ethnic jokes, sex jokes, scatological history, anything, as long as it makes sense. Women do not tell jokes. One time, my friend's wife, a wonderful woman, we were sitting around, and somebody said, "So, a German, a Belgian, and a Chinese guy walk into a bar." And she said, "Really?" And I thought, that's it. She didn't understand. Well, why are you telling stories? Well, it's a joke. Well, why are you telling it? No, it's funny. Well, what's funny about it? Well, you gotta wait for the joke. What's funny about a German and a Chinese? Didn't understand it. She was very smart. It's a different form of humor. It's a different form of humor. And humor, by the way, is very important because especially when it focuses and highlights the absurdist point. You see, two things. If I can explain something to you, why I think something makes sense, sometimes I'll show you why the opposite doesn't make any sense. I'd rather prove sometimes, look, if you don't want to vote for me because you can't vote for the other guy because he's crazy, and here's why. And I point that out. I show the absurdist point of view. And number two, remember about humor and laughing. When somebody laughs with you, they like you. So if you're ever picking a jury and if you see smiles or laughing on the parts of the jury, you've got them. Because the person that you hate the most could come into your particular surroundings, say something that is arguably the funniest thing ever, but because they don't like you, they will never laugh. So laughter and smiling and humor
and giggling and chortling and cachinnating and guffaws and all of that is a sign that you are liked. See? Good. We have more coming up on 77 WABC. Who am I? Good question. My name is Lionel. What's yours?
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
Laughing is this is something I will talk about sometime. When you see a little baby laugh, it cracks me up. What are they doing? Laughter is this incredibly power healing. It's like a purgative. This neurological, physiological, emotional pathways that involve this. I've looked at it, this motor vocal reflex. Think about it. It's involuntary. A lot of times you have this contraction of the diaphragm. It's really crying backwards. Larynx, facial muscles. You normally see it as the perception or the appreciation of incongruity or absurdity, surprise. It's there's kind of like a gelastic response. And I was looking at this. It involves, look at the parts of the brain. Prefrontal cortex, interpreting it, understanding it, judgment centers, temporal lobes, processing it, hypothalamus, triggering autonomic responses, the amygdala, emotion, fight or flight, motor cortex, you're laughing, sometimes you're spasmodic, brain stem, and periaqueductal gray. This is the parts of laughter. It's very, very complicated. And what happens when you say, I am depressed? There's something called anhedonia. See, we always look at laughter and these things as being trivial. You don't understand. That is not it at all. There's something that is so fascinating. Oh, what about this? Have you heard of a PBA, pseudobulbar affect? This is the neurological condition that causes uncontrollable laughing or crying, unrelated to actual emotion, hebephrenia. You don't understand sometimes how things work until you see what happens when they don't work. Anhedonia, when you're not able to feel pleasure. I mentioned Witzelsucht. This is something. Also, remember, which is interesting, on the spectrum of things, the smile. Let me back up. Let me get real deep here, okay? You don't mind, do you? Good. Like you've got any say. Because I'm in control of this bus here and I'm driving it. I am curious about what AI and AGI, artificial general intelligence, will do. Do you ever see a day where there will be an AI talk show host? Or you will call up and talk to an AI talk show host? Will that ever work? Sometimes it's very difficult for us to teach things like subtlety, nuance, joking, sarcasm, sardonic, these weird little gray areas. Let me give you an example of something. Will there ever be, here's my question, will there ever be, imagine the management at WABC saying, this is terrific, we don't even have to hire anybody. No problem, doesn't show up late, not a pain in the ass, we just put on this machine, this sort of thing. But sometimes people want to hear the real thing. Why do I say that? As you know, the greatest chess player, maybe ever, the GOAT, the greatest of all times, is Magnus Carlsen. He better than Kasparov and Karpov and Spassky, Bobby Fischer, name it. Now, there are kids, by the by, who are probably going to be better than him. Now, he is the greatest. He remembers, his memory is, he's not normal. He is not of this world. Okay? Now, he said one time, the phone in his pocket, the chess game, can beat him anytime. But yet we still want to see him compete human to human. So that's at least hope that maybe we will never want to eliminate totally the idea of a human being. In the world of, sorry to say this, pornography, filth, the concupiscent, the salacious, that kind of jazz. Artificially created non-real photos or pictures, it may not convert. Why? Because there may be a part of the brain where we have this thing called authenticity. And where we see who are real. Do you know BS artists? Do you have a BS meaner? Mine is redlining all the time. I never get false positives. Never. I can read people. I'm never wrong. Never. I have such a hyper, developed sense of not only BS, I love that word, but the idea of insincerity and the like. And only a human can pick up on that. At least as of now. Okay? Does this make any sense to you? I hope so. Coming up, the final hour of this thing of ours, on the eve of Mother's Day. This is Lionel with you. I'm so happy to be here. I hope you're happy to be here. We have more coming up, whether you like it or not. There's nothing you can do because I'm in charge. On 77, listen carefully, WABC.
ABC. Now, Lionel is on your radio.
Alrighty, Lionel with you. Just moments away until the Liz or Lizzie Radabali show. Today, her tribute to, let me see. Oh, no, I was going to think of something really, Gnostic exoticization of arcana. That's my take. In any event, be listening. Isn't it funny the word Elizabeth, the name is either Liz, Lizzie, Betsy, Bitsy, Betty. I mean, isn't that interesting how certainly, then there's Richard and of course Dick, which I think is still the greatest name. It depends how you pronounce it too. It really, there's, when they say Dick Nixon, you know what I mean? As opposed to Derek. There's a way that you connote certain things. Now this week, you're not going to be hearing this. As you know, my friends, you turn to me because you're saying, Lionel, or as my friend Curtis says, Lionel, what does all this mean? That's a good question. What does it all mean? And there's one thing that you can listen to. And let me see if I can explain this to you, because we're all talking about the Pope and this and that and blah, 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 blah. Okay. I do not believe in Satan. I do not believe in Lucifer. I do not believe in the Prince of Darkness or Mephistopheles or Beelzebub or any of that other stuff. I'm not saying it's not true. I just don't believe in it. Just like I don't understand French. I don't know what they're saying. I don't understand it. Maybe, I'm sure they're saying something. I just don't understand it. Certain things I don't understand. And whenever people talk about something, this past week we had the Met Gala. Not gala, gala. Just like fentanyl. YL, not fentanyl, like Benadryl, fentanyl. All right. This is a ritualized, kind of a satanically symbologized, semiotically laden, this is this pageant, which is supposedly cloaked in couture, but what it is it is a celebration of anti-Catholic, anti-religious, it's this deliberately, I think, well, let me give you an example. It's sacrilegious. It's heresy. They say that by 2018 is when it really kicked in. Heavenly Bodies was the name of it, because there's always a theme. Fashion and the Catholic imagination theme. It was unmistakable. Inverted crosses, rhinestoned, people's, I think, stretched in crimson, always mocking. You'll never see anybody ever mock, insinuate, mimic anything Islamic, Jewish, never. You'll never see any kind of Jewish symbology or semiotics used like it comes to Christianity or this. Look at this. Go back throughout history. The inversion of religious symbols. This is huge. And by the way, the inversion of the cross goes back to Peter, because remember, he was crucified upside down. The idolatry of self, transhumanism, non-human. Oh, believe me, I'm sitting there. If I walked into any newsroom, not here, of course, but any newsroom, at any station, TV, radio, and I brought this up, they'd look at me and they say, what are you talking about? What are you even talking about? This is steeped in the occult. This is this cultural deconstruction. It's every Christian icon you can imagine. And the best part is that it was there the whole time and nobody said a word about it. Because we live on this surface level. Nobody understands symbology. They love symbols. 2018. Let's look back. Because Anna Wintour, take that wig off, honey. You're not fooling anybody. This is a woman, by the way, Vogue, who would never have Melania. By the way, Melania Trump, please, Madam Flotus, never, ever grace the covers of that rag. But the first one, 2018, Heavenly Bodies was the theme. What did we see? Rihanna as the Pope. Remember this one? She wore this bejeweled mitre. She cosplayed as the Pope. A lot of Catholics found it blasphemous, but the media called it iconic. See, remember, Catholics, and I'm telling you, I'm a retired Catholic, but I'm still a member theoretically of the club, and if you don't like Catholicism, don't be a member of it, but don't besmirch it at the protection of other faiths too, because unless you're going to be ecumenical in your defamation, don't do it at all. Try dressing a rabbi or an imam or some Buddhist monk. See how brave that is. Then in 2019, remember this one? Jared Leto was holding his own head. This was the camp theme. He carried a lifelike replica of his severed head. This is direct echo of John the Baptist. And other people were looking at this weird kind of, it wasn't glam art or some Gnostic overtones, but it was self-deification. The headless symbolism and occultism represents ego death. I mean, I'm serious. I read up on this. And 2023, Billie Eilish as the Gothic Madonna. Remember this? The dark mother goddess, the black mass Mary. 2021, Kim Kardashian in a faceless Balenciaga, pure occult, ritual garb, ritual anonymity, depersonalization. Mockery of the crucifixion. It just goes on and on. And when you talk about these people who basically have an 8th grade education, who have no idea about the exoticization of this, who think that it's all kind of cool and groovy, who don't understand that when they make hand signals and the like, and you can go back to Spirit Cooking and Abramovich and everybody else, they don't get it. They're just bored. What is so critical, and let me also bring this up to speed, and I want you to listen to me too. I want you to think about this. This happened last week. The entire gala And nobody ever talks about what are you doing. If there was something that was considered racist or transphobic, they would have been wall to wall. But for some reason, it's always under the radar when it's anti-Christian or anti-Catholic. Is that fair to you? If you think it's fair, fine. Let me also tell you something which I want you to understand. This is also critical because I speak sometimes with a sense of urgency. I speak to you as though I think somebody's going to ring the bell and say, that's it, that's over. So I want to make sure I get everything out. And the thing I want you to understand is that the Diddy trial and the Epstein matter are limited hangouts for something that is even bigger. Okay? Now I know some people say, I don't like that Cash Patel. I want to see a perp walk. Yeah, I want to see you really, it sounds good. It's only been 100 or whatever, 9 or whatever, 10 days. But this is the part which people forget. The real issue of what these cases are about has nothing to do with the idea of children. I'm sorry, that's a part of it. That's bad. But it is a limited hangout. This is a small scandal, smaller scandal or fact put out so that you can glom onto that and miss the big picture. Listen to me. The issue behind Epstein and Diddy is not what they did, at least at that primary level. It's the people behind them. Let me give you an example. Epstein's made out to be this kind of a oafish kind of a, who is this guy? Who is this creepy guy taking pictures? And you're told it's all about blackmail, right? That's what you're told. That the reason why they whacked him was because of blackmail. And that he's got pictures, compromising pictures of very famous people doing very terrible things and they're caught on camera. Right? Right? Isn't that what and that's what you think it is. That's what you're told. That's a limited hangout. That's a bit of information that you'll attach to that, glom onto that, adhese yourself to that, and miss the big picture. The issue are the people behind him. The mafia today. Let's use that term. Mafia. And you can go back as to what it means, whether it's the acronym for Morte alle Francia Italianella and all this Joe Bonanno theories. But today's organized crime is nothing. Nothing. Do you like these organized crime platforms? They're the same stories all the time. Who killed Tommy DeSimone? Over and over. That's not it. Do you know where the organized crime is today? Places you've never been, people you never heard of, organizations you can't even pronounce, never heard of. If I explain to you the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, that's the central bank of central banks. If I told you that there was a conglomeration, a perfect merging, a concatenation of big tech, of money laundering, shell corporations, international monetary funding control of everything, money, the likes of which you can't even, wealth you can't even grasp. And there are people from Peter Thiel to Elon Musk not necessarily involved in anything bad. And you got the J.B. Diamonds, you got this and that, and you got the Les Wexners. All of them are part of this huge superstructure of big, but not just big, international weapons, cloud, defense, merging, AI, what am I saying? Huge. And what he was pretty good at, believe it or not, was shell corporations, money laundering, hiding stuff. See, yeah, he might have been a freak and all that kind of stuff. Do you really think you're going to blackmail Bill Gates? Come on. What can you do? What are you going to do? What, they're going to, arrest him? What? And so the story is, you think that this is all about some intel. Was it CIA or Mossad or MI6? Was it some kind of an intel, a black ops, black bag operation in order to get and lure? That's not even a part of it. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about Prince Andrew, and that's not it. That's the cover. That's the limited hangout. The real issue behind this, and Diddy too. Let me talk about the entertainment world. Do you want to go back? Do you want to really look at the world of music, entertainment? Don't look at Diddy. Don't look at Jay-Z. Look at Warner Brothers. Look at Clive Davis. Keep going and going and going. From the days of Roulette and Morris Levy. Go, go, go. Keep looking at this superstructure. Go back to the days of Meyer Lansky, and it is huge. There is this wonderful ball of fishing line that's all entangled and connected and knots, and you're saying, how do I untangle this? People aren't going to be interested in that. No, they're going to be interested in whether did he dye his hair? Are they eating cheese sandwiches? Did they use baby oil? Who was there? What does the Cassie Ventura video have to do with anything? What's going on? It's nothing. It's a cover. It's a distraction. It means nothing. Diddy was nothing. Now the question is, why all of a sudden are they coming after him? Why? Do you know the names? I can't tell you. Do you know the notion of trafficking? The word doesn't even come close to what it is today. The world of entertainment levels of sick, the subculture. Again, I keep using this term, the exoticization of targeting victims, and it's huge, bigger than anything. Go back, keep going back. Oprah, Sean Penn, where's this Naomi Campbell? Keith, when did you throw names out? Whatever happened to these people? Nobody follows up on this. No, because we live in a world of low-hanging fruit. We live in a world where people have an 8th grade, maybe, if we're lucky, more like a 3rd grade mentality. And if it's about sex, race, or something obvious, they focus on that. They can't understand superstructures because we're taught to be anti-complex. We want simplistic, ridiculous, base lunacy. I love the complexity of it. It's labyrinthine. It's incredible, the circuitry, how this works. But you can forget it. So let me just tell you something. Number one, recapping, you're not going to hear anything about what's going on with the Pope and the papacy. Nothing about the impeded see, nothing about the vacancy, sedi-vacantism, St. Gallen Mafia, nothing about Benedict, what he did. Did he step down? Why didn't he there's the Munis, and believe me, if you spend 5 minutes, you'll find it fascinating. Nothing on that. Number two, this week, the Met Gala. Nothing on the anti-Christian, anti-Catholic symbology and the satanic occult aspect of it by a bunch of people who can't even spell satanic, much less understand it, but it's there. And number three, the part of this ridiculous merging of Epstein and Diddy, when you think it's about sex, that's not it. That's a cover. That's a distraction. But what I'm trying to tell you requires not only me telling you this, of which I will, but an interest, a sincere and insatiable interest on the part of the public. And America doesn't have it because America has been so dumbed down and so limited in terms of its ability to enjoy, dare I say, conspiratorial mentation. Not only that, they've been dampened and softened by psych meds and just this subjugation, lack of intellectually curious, critical thinking education. We're just a bunch of meatballs walking around just looking for something very simple to understand. And there you have it. Our number 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Oh, I got more stuff for you. That's why sometimes I'm thinking, I don't think this is the place. I love you and everything, but I don't think you want to hear this, okay? But I'll speak in code. This is Lionel with you on 77 WABC.
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
Where does the term left and right come from? Where does this come from? French Revolution, 1789. The left and right depended upon where people sat in the National Assembly. In the National Assembly, those who supported the king and tradition and monarchy and hierarchy sat on the right side of the president's chair who presided. Those who supported reform and revolution and secularism and the rights of the common man on the left. The left was egalitarianism, social reform, blah, 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 blah. The right was hierarchical structures, and we've kind of used this Marxist. I've always thought it was weird. Communism left. Hitler, right. Right wing, left wing. Stalin was left wing? What? Hitler was a National Socialist? What? These labels don't mean anything. I don't even know I don't know what this means. All my life, people have said, oh, you're a this and that. It's like people who've rejected my wife and me because they think somehow I'm some rabid Trump supporter. I like him. I do. I make no bones about that at all. Because he's the ultimate gangster. He's OG. He is legit. But this left-right stuff, lose the words. Joaquin in Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. Why they call it that? I have no idea. You're on 77 WABC.
Lionel.
Yes, sir.
Hey, mon frère, magnanimous, narcissistic, cerebral behemoth.
I don't think I'm narcissistic, but solipsistic, perhaps.
I am.
Oh, you are.
I am.
There's no doubt about that. Talk to me, sir.
Frère. So anyway, I'll have my AGI call your AGI radio show, and we'll both be obsolete together. How's that sound?
Interesting. Yes.
Now, last week you kind of whittled me down. You put me on the spot. I couldn't put my finger on it. Why? Mm-hmm. I had no confidence in Pam Boddy and Kash Patel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is now. When Kash Patel came out and said that what's his name, Epstein committed suicide, and
yeah.
I'm so sorry, but you got that pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, who said his neck was broken,
yep.
I believe, in 3 different places.
Yep.
Then you have the guards who were like the Roman soldiers guarding Christ's tomb, fell asleep.
Right.
And, the cameras didn't work?
Well,
I'm sorry. And like you say, this thing
now
about
Stop for a second. The only thing of the litany of indicia that you have indicated so far is the fact that the medico-legal forensic information, shattered hyoid bone, shattered thyroid cartilage, petechial hemorrhaging, liver mortis, all of that stuff. Yes, that's different. Now, guards falling asleep, that could also be suicide. Cameras not working, that could be suicide. That does not mean non-suicide. That could happen as well. I don't know if Kash is trying to say, I'm not supposed to say this. Sometimes, Joaquin, I could tell you, listen, don't go out there and tell people everything that you think. For example, don't go out and tell people, there's been a contact with people from other planets. It may not be a good idea. It might not be, even though it's true. You got to be responsible because, Joaquin, you got to understand people. People are so stupid, it's not even funny. So you got to be careful what you say. So I don't think that Kash Patel, if I said, Kash, come here, do you really think that he'd say, no, of course not. But I have to say that. That's our official thing. And if I say something else, it's going to go into a different direction. So that's all.
But you see, that's all, I think, from design sabotage from within of the Trump administration, because that makes them look bad. Now, I am ultra uber mega. I'm also an America First nationalist, okay? I make no bones about that. What's wrong with nationalism? And, and there's a few things I disagree with Trump on. And one of them is the red line. He drew to Hamas and never followed up on it, But I think that some of these things,
our foreign policy is just incoherent. But that's okay. I mean, look, I don't know about you. I don't know if you can say that there ever would exist anybody that you absolutely agree with. Look, there are some things I would say to Pam Bondi and to Kash Patel. We'd sit there and say, we're going to work on image. Okay. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on speech. We're going to work on how you look on a camera, what you say, tone of voice. And one thing I'm going to tell you right now, and I mean this, and I'm not trying to be mean. Tom Homan sometimes sounds like he's got marbles in his mouth. I don't understand what he's saying. No, I'm not trying to, I'm not, I think it may be a tad bit of a handicap or something by itself. I don't want to break my own rules, but he needs to work on that. There's no doubt about that. No doubt whatsoever. But also, are you familiar with Laura Loomer? Laura Loomer is one of the most important unconventional journalists there is. And she is terrific. But she has there's a phrase, it ends with on. She has a fixation, if you will, towards and against and anent Pam Bondi. She calls her Pam Blondie. I think sometimes there may be kind of a little bit there, but I want her to say back off. Go after Kamala Harris. Go after Tish James. Go after these people. Tish James could very well be cracking rocks upstate. Do you understand what that means? As long as we keep talking about stuff that matters, focus on that. Focus on this person who ran an election who said, I'm going to put Donald Trump in prison. Nobody's ever done this before. I'm going to put Donald Trump in prison. I'm going to put him in prison. This is what you ran for. And she now did something which basically is, in a sense, what she claims he did. Agnes in New Brunswick. You're on 77 WABC with Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. I'm 81 years old. I've seen a lot of stuff.
Good for you.
I'll tell you, my husband died about a couple months ago, but we used to laugh at stuff that happened years ago. Now, we used to watch this guy on TV that played the piano and then kicked the stool out of the way. What's his name? I forget.
Victor Borga? Jerry?
No, somebody.
You're talking about a comedian?
Yeah. Well, he played the piano beautifully, and then he kicked the piano stool out of the way and kept on playing. I can't remember his name. But anyway,
Not Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yes.
That was a funny way. Okay. Tony, you were right.
I all the time.
Tony, I thought you were wrong.
Knew there was a radio station after midnight. But now that I wake up in the middle of the night, I remember all the stuff we used to laugh at, and you are hysterical. You are so funny.
But see,
takes me a while.
That makes me so happy that you would think, and by the way, that you keep your husband alive in terms of what you thought was funny, because I don't know, that energy. I think of my mother, tomorrow's Mother's Day. My mother used to have this really weird sense of humor. Very odd. She's one of the jokes she says, he lost so much blood, his eyes cleared up. And that killed me. Because and she said, if you can't read, you can't buy soup. And remember the days of Campbell's soup, and there was all of this, but so that's the part that I remember, is that when you laughed, you shared something. And think about this, Agnes. What does it mean when you find something funny? What? And when you can't find something funny, it's depression, it's anhedonia, it's inertia. Laughing. Have you ever seen a little baby laugh?
Yes.
And you're wondering, what are they laughing? What are they laughing?
The other thing,
Go ahead, please.
The other thing is, I listen to the radio all the time. My father had a ship-to-shore radio.
You told me that last time. And the thing with underneath, he'd say, come on, let's go fishing at 3 a.m. And
Yes, and I laugh all the time because I went along with it. I didn't know what they were even saying on the radio, but I still listen to the radio. So I went to a priest after my husband passed away. He was Armenian, so I went to an Armenian priest and in New Jersey, and he said, well, you do look very sad about everything, because I was going to have some prayers said for my husband. So he said, only think of the happy times. Well, I can't stop thinking of the things that we laughed at. And now I'm listening to you in the middle of the night. Good. Listen,
Agnes, your husband will never leave your heart. He will never die, if you remember that. Speaking of Armenian church, I had no idea about the Armenian church. I went to one time to I think it was a wedding, and it was an Armenian church. And I never, ever, no idea. But there's one thing I found out. They never sat down. So one thing about the Catholics. Sit down, get up, sit down, kneel, get up, sit down. At least you can take a load off, sit down. And it kind of broke it up, Okay, we're rounding the bend. Okay, here comes liturgy. Okay, here we go. Now here comes communion. Okay, sign of peace. We're on our way. Because I'm sorry, when I was a kid, I couldn't wait to get out. It just every week. And he took the cup, gave it to us. Okay, fine. And so I could space it by sitting down. Went to this Armenian wedding. Never sat down. Never. I was like, what do we have? What do we have seats for? Anyway, nobody cared about my objection, which is what you can imagine. Dick in New Jersey. Dick, you're on 77 WABC.
Hey, Lionel, of all the sportscasters that may be Catholic, they never objected to the Hail Mary pass.
Yeah.
I never got that.
Well,
it's just an automatic.
Yeah, I mean, I could see somebody else doing it. I always ask this question, and I've asked this, and people think I'm being I'm dead serious. If there was a team called the Dallas Jews, is that wrong? No, nothing Hebraic, no, nothing in the writing or the font style, no, horrors or Hava, none of that. Just a regular team, but just called Jews, Irish. This, Chiefs, the Braves, whatever. And just, would people, again, there's always the sense of sacrilege by virtue of the mascot, the way the mascot is depicted. Redskins, I think, okay, if you gotta speak of something, I think that would be it. But I ask the question, and nobody's ever taken me up on it. I'm dead serious. I want to know what's the difference. Just like I've asked people, you eat chicken, right? You eat fish, yeah? What about a dog? What? What difference does it? What do you mean, what difference does it make? Other countries do it. I don't care about other countries. Explain to me this Disneyfication of this sense of what a food. It's beef. Not beef. It's protein. What does it matter? How do you say this? How do we differentiate the type of horrors that we inflict on animals? How do we do this? Can I wear the fur? Of course, that's beautiful. What about leather? Of course, that's beautiful. What about dog leather? Oh, no. No. Why? I don't know. Certain things we do, certain things we don't. And all my life I'm saying, it doesn't make any sense. This is Lionel with you on 77 WABC.
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
But how about Newark International Airport, EWR? Find out this, Liz. Why is Newark EWR? Is that Newark spelled backwards? EWR, like NEW. Anyway, there's a series of significant air traffic controller challenges. The FAA reports a nationwide shortage of approximately 3,000 air traffic controllers. Do you know why? Go ahead, guess. Guess! The Philadelphia Terminal Radar Action Control, or TRACON Center, which is responsible for managing Newark's airspace, is operated with only 22 certified controllers, significantly below the desired level of 38. Why do you think that is? Well, there's been mandatory overtime, increased stress. And think about this. Newark has experienced multiple radar and communication outages in recent weeks, notably two 90-second blackouts. What? United Airlines, the primary carrier at Newark, canceled 10% of its flights due to air traffic control issues. Passengers affecting delays. So, now, why do you think that is? Go ahead. Say it. Why do you think all of a sudden there's a problem? Why? How can this possibly be? There's something very, very, very wrong with this, and I wanted to get to the bottom of this. Maybe next time we're going to talk. Oh, we'll do this tomorrow. How about dark woke? You heard about that? No, of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Let me see if I can explain something to you. This is my philosophy. I have the idea, so that you know my particular way of thinking. I have the idea that I am locking myself in this room, kind of taking out the Morse code, ding, 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 and I'm sending the word out. This is the truth. This is the truth. This is what you have to know. Nobody is telling you this. Nobody. One of my proudest moments ever. I was on PIX. Wonderful time there. Just wonderful. And I had, 100% full reign. Great. Do whatever you want. So 10 o'clock I would do my thing. And I became fascinated with Libya. Libya was it was fascinating. And all of a sudden, this is an example now. You might say, why is he talking about Libya? Because this is an example. And I was noticing that all of a sudden they were making Muammar Gaddafi out to be this nut, this crazy lunatic, crazy nutty, crazy. He wasn't crazy at all. So I started doing what I first do. And this is part of critical thinking. Remember, go to the map. You can't do anything, especially regarding Ukraine or Russia or the Middle East, unless you understand the geographical configuration, the propinquity, that which is adjacent. If you don't understand where Ukraine is, you don't understand why Russia is concerned. You just don't. Okay, so I did. Then I looked up and I said, well, where did this come from? They talk about the unification of Libya through this weird kind of a gerrymandering and this patchwork from Mussolini and all this kind of jazz. But there was this place called Tripolitania, Tripoli, the Fezzan, black Libya. They love Gaddafi. And then there was Cyrenaica. And Cyrenaica had this place called Benghazi. Not Ben Casey. Remember that? Ben Casey. What was his name? What was it? And it doesn't matter. I get off of my tangents. So Benghazi, I was reading about Benghazi. And nobody heard about it. Nobody thought about it. And especially when it comes to, well, let's face it, certain local shows are not worried about international stuff. But anyway, it goes on. So as I'm reading about this, looking at the map, looking at all this stuff, then I find out that there's a courthouse. I see a picture of it in Benghazi where the flag is Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda. The rebels that we were supporting, everybody talked about the rebels because we were told that we're going to hate Gaddafi. By the way, whose name is spelled with a G, a Q, or a K. Remember that? And 30 variations with each of those. Anyway, they said that he was crazy. So I got in the air and I said, the rebels that we are supporting in Benghazi are Al-Qaeda. and I remember they said, that was great. And I asked people later on, I said, did you hear it? He goes, yeah, I did. Do you understand what that means? He said, no. I said, Al-Qaeda, the rebels that we are supporting to oust Gaddafi are our enemies. We are supporting Al-Qaeda. Okay. Let me ask you this question. I kept going deeper. And by the way, this isn't difficult at all. Do you know why we hated Gaddafi more than anything? When I say hated, we wanted him gone. It's not what you think. You're going to say oil, right? Well, they wanted to nationalize oil. What else? Well, it was maybe sell the oil and get rid of the dollar. Nope, that's not it. What else? Nobody ever even talks about this. Remember, I'm telling you this. Remember this. Mark the date. Mark the moment. Remember when you heard this. Remember this date. May the 10th, 4:48 a.m. The reason more than anything else that you will never hear about was this thing called, and we'll talk about it, hydro-imperialism. What does that mean? The war for water. Water. Hydro-imperialism. You see, dear friends, in the 20s, somebody said, hey, there's this thing called oil, and oil's important, not only for, gasoline, but for, plastics and that we eventually needed, and lubricant, and, well, where's the oil? Well, it seems to be in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, and there we go. So we went there, and we dealt with these folks, and all of a sudden we became enmeshed in this notion of Saudi Arabian politics and the like. We also had the petrodollar, OPEC, all that jazz. Okay, that was then. Now, before that, we were into gold. You see, gold was important. So you would have these explorers would be in South America, on their horses. I'm doing the horse hoof sound. And they'd have the fancy hats with the ostrich plume, and they'd be going in and they'd be conquering places because we wanted their gold. Then there was oil. And then later on, we needed rare earth metals. That's why this deal with Ukraine theoretically is important, because that which powers virtually everything involving lithium and others, metals that are responsible for much of our computer work, and by the way, are in such minute quantities, it might take the tilling and the cultivation of an acre of land to get a teaspoon of this stuff. So you need a lot of land mass. It's very environmentally unfriendly. You've got to, strip mine. Okay, that's rare earth. But beyond that is water. Where is water? Where do we go? Desalination or desalinization, as some say. The amount of energy that's required is much more difficult to do than you can imagine. They do it on submarines, but not for replacing water. Water is critical. You can get off the gold standard, but you can't get off the water standard. So what does this have to do with Gaddafi? They discovered the Nubian sandstone aquifer, one of the largest, if not the largest, freshwater aquifers sitting right below Libya. And he was going to go in and make that area arable. He was going to bring water in that part. Why do you think the Tigris and the Euphrates? Why is Iraq so important? Oil? The Tigris and the Euphrates, the Fertile Crescent, the Garden of Eden, water. The Golan Heights, water everywhere, nary a drop to drink. What's that, Coleridge? In any event, this is going to be the casus belli, the cause of war. This is going to be where we go to war next. The Bush family, is it Paraguay, Uruguay? Acres. Who owns the water? You've heard of riparian rights. You've heard about the ad silum doctrine, for those of you who are into common law. When you own a piece of property, you own things around it. The shore, the area above it, ad silum to the heavens, below mineral rights. And you even have, to a certain extent, air easements and the like. Who owns the water? Who? It's going to be, and the head, who do you think is the new head of the WEF? What did he run? Nestle. One of the biggest water producers, Nestle. Remember, I'm telling you this. Remember, one day when it hits you, you're going to say, he was right. You know how many times I've been right? I can't even count. Listen to me. I will lead you out of the darkness on 77 WABC.
WABC. It's late. It's Lionel.
in any event. Speaking of mental illness, by the way, Mayor Adams, what about the Thrive in 2015 Mayor Bill de Blasio and First Lady Shirlane McCray? They launched the Thrive NYC, aimed to overhaul the city's approach to mental health by implementing 54 initiatives with a projected budget of approximately $850 million over 4 years, surpassing $1 billion. What happened to it? Lack of transparency. The program prioritized, this mental wellness over addressing serious mental illnesses. Underutilized facilities. For example, there was a $52 million Bronx diversion center, remained largely unused. We have to start warehousing the dangerously mentally ill. Listen to me. I'm not being mean. I told you about handicaps starting off. There are people out there who are dangerous. You can't talk to them. You don't understand. There are some schizophrenia. 99.999% of the people are fine. Mental illness is not a problem, but there are a very few. And years ago, right around post, Reagan, they said, no, we're going to deinstitutionalize, because what happens is when the federal government said, we're taking over, a lot of the states said, great, you do it. So we're out of the business. We can reallocate that budgeted money to other forms of theft and fraud and the like. That's what it was about. That's what it was about. Let me tell you something. That's another subject. There's so many subjects, so much. We need to have adequate time, adequate focus, adequate attention to some very, very serious issues right here. And let me also tell you, we need to revamp when it comes to people in the criminal justice system, because we have this stupid McNaughton rule, which says you have to not know the difference between right and wrong. There are people who know the difference between right and wrong. That's why they run away, because they know what they're doing is wrong, but they're schizophrenic. When you have a woman or a man who says, usually a man, why did you push the woman on the subway platform? Why did you do that? Did you know it was wrong? Yes, I did. Why'd you do it? Because the voices told me. How do you deal with that? I don't know. There are people who are absolutely bonkers out of their minds. Not always. Not everybody. Don't want to demonize the mental illness. Somewhere along the line, we need to have, and with Mayor Adams, look, bless his heart. I don't know what's going on with this. I really don't know what your thoughts are. I have not been in anywhere even remotely impressed with a mayor since Rudy Giuliani. Never. I mean it. A mayor is a very simple thing. Keep us safe. Schools, do whatever. Good luck with that one. But absolutely have the biggest, baddest, meanest, most well-trained police force. I want miniature military. I don't want somebody sitting on a corner with Cardi B lenses, holding their hat and talking on their phone, who look like they couldn't run a half a block. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And granted, that might be the vast minority of the cases, but we've got to treat police like the centurions in the first line against complete and total disintegration and subterfuge of this country, the subjugation of us by the world of the criminals. They are not out there to be social workers. They're out there not to serve or protect. They're not protecting. I want them to be a constant force, because most of the time, unfortunately, they respond to victimization. Number two, under the Lionel program, we need to have militias. We have to have more and more of individual citizens being able to utilize the Second Amendment and the precepts and contents, using the words of the great Tench Cox, whose grave I visit at least once a year in Philly. We have to utilize those constitutional provisions that we have to protect ourselves. Oh, believe me, I am, if I ran this country, I would be there for one term. I would be so hated, not by the citizens, but by the people who propel it. Mr. Atwood, thank you tonight for your genius. Mr. Lee, thank you also. Incredible. Coming up, Liz Rottenbali. Everybody's talking about it, as am I. I'll be glued in. We'll see you tomorrow, same time. at 2 to 5 a.m. And don't forget, my friends, as we always say, with this valedictory, the monkey's dead, the show's over, sue ya, da-da.